Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the life and work of Dafnée Comte and her really fresh approach to education.
Interesting choice.
Comte, she co-founded this really neat forest school called Edu Forêt,
I've heard of that.
and it's with Waldorf educator Philippe Leroux.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Comte's background, though, is really, really interesting.
I've heard it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, well, she's worked in film, adventure guiding, even physical education.
Wow.
So let's dive in and find out a little more about her and her approach.
Sounds good.
One of the things that really comes out about Comte's approach to education is that she really believes that it should be a journey.
Yeah, and not a race, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And that we should be respecting each child's individuality and their own pace of learning.
That's so important, I think, especially with learners who might struggle in those traditional settings.
Absolutely.
The ones that, don't necessarily fit into that mold.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you said, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Now, Comte's background, like we said, is super diverse. So in addition to those things that we just mentioned, she also specialized in something called nature-based intervention.
Oh, yeah, nature-based intervention. It's fascinating.
What exactly is that?
Well, essentially, it uses nature as a therapeutic tool
Okay.
for personal growth and development, and
I see where that would come into her educational philosophy for sure.
absolutely.
I mean, it makes you wonder, what kind of interventions did she use?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, guiding a group through a forest or...
Maybe using nature photography or something
Exactly.
to encourage observation, creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, get those senses going.
It's all about fostering that connection with the natural world
Right.
and using that as a springboard for learning.
It's such a different picture than what we traditionally think of,
But sitting at a desk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Memorizing facts from a textbook.
Yeah. None of that.
And, her background in adventure guiding really comes into play here too,
Oh,
right?
oh, absolutely.
It's all about taking risks, exploring, embracing the unexpected.
Totally.
And she has done a lot of exploring.
I was just going to say, she's been all over.
Comte has traveled to over 20 countries. She's trained teachers in Côte d'Ivoire.
Wow.
She's compared educational systems, I think, in Reunion Island.
I read about that.
She's even worked with the Inuit communities in Nunavut
Amazing.
and, explored all different cultures across Canada, too.
That global perspective must be so enriching to her approach.
I would think so.
It's such a diverse viewpoint and different methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to bring a lot to the table.
At the heart of Comte's approach, we've talked about all these different pieces, but at the heart of it all,
Yeah, what ties it all together?
exactly, she really believes that education should be lived and embodied
Yeah,
and focused on the whole child.
the whole child,
Right.
not just the intellect.
Exactly. So it's not just about, intellectual growth, but nurturing their emotional, social well-being as well.
Very holistic.
Yeah, and this reminds me a lot of the principles of Waldorf education.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Comte's talked about her admiration for Waldorf education.
Has she?
Yeah, especially that emphasis on creativity and imagination and hands-on learning.
Makes sense.
Those are such crucial elements to fostering that lifelong love of learning.
Right, and it's not just theoretical for her, right?
No, she's actually putting this into practice.
With Edu Forêt?
With Edu Forêt, yeah. Their motto is opening doors that lead to others.
I love that.
It's beautiful.
So Comte views learning as, just this dynamic process.
Yeah.
Where one discovery
It sparks another.
leads to another, leads to endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities, yeah.
It's not just a linear path.
You're not at all. It's a web of interconnected pathways.
I like that.
And it's not about accumulating knowledge.
Right.
It's about creating these living relationships with knowledge.
Living relationships with knowledge. I like that.
Yeah, it's about actively engaging with information, questioning assumptions, making connections between different concepts.
Yeah, it's not rote memorization. It's a back and forth. You're constantly,
The dialogue.
Exactly. It's an ongoing dialogue.
Shaping and reshaping.
Yeah, and Comte's vision isn't just limited to Edu Forêt.
No, she's got her hands in a few different things.
Yeah, she's expanding her reach with Edu Voyage.
Edu Voyage.
What's that all about?
So Edu Voyage is kind of an extension of her educational philosophy,
Okay.
but with a focus on experiential travel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she leads these small groups of learners on immersive journeys to different parts of the world.
So cool. Imagine learning about history.
By actually walking through ancient ruins
Yes.
or studying marine biology while snorkeling on a coral reef.
So cool.
bringing learning to life,
Yeah.
creating these unforgettable experiences.
Taking the field trip concept
To a whole other level.
to a whole other level. I bet those trips are incredible.
They are incredible, and it doesn't stop there.
Oh,
Edu Online,
they do online.
an online platform,
Wow.
courses and resources for learners of all ages.
So she's really embracing technology
Absolutely.
as another way to reach
Wider audience.
a wider audience. And she's even creating videos in English
Yep.
to share these ideas globally.
Cool impact.
Really inspiring to see her dedication to expanding these educational horizons.
It really is.
Makes you wonder how she developed such a unique perspective on learning.
Let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, let's delve a little deeper into her background.
Okay.
See what clues we can uncover.
All right. Well, Comte wasn't afraid to venture off the beaten path.
No, she wasn't.
Even as a young woman, she just had this incredible thirst for adventure.
I read that she spent some time as a wilderness guide.
She did. She did.
I mean, what kind of experiences did she have during those years?
Oh, she guided expeditions through some of the most remote and challenging landscapes in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. From what I've gathered, she led these groups on multi-day treks through mountainous terrain,
Oh, wow.
navigated whitewater rapids,
No kidding.
even helped people overcome their fear of heights rock climbing.
Wow, those sound like incredible experiences.
They do.
No wonder she emphasizes hands-on learning and pushing boundaries.
Exactly. And it's not just about those physical challenges either.
Right.
She often talks about the impact that nature has on us,
Yeah.
on our emotional and spiritual well-being.
So her time as a guide wasn't just about leading people through the wilderness,
Yeah,
but helping them connect with themselves
absolutely.
and something larger than themselves.
Exactly. She's talked about how those experiences in nature really helped her develop a deep sense of empathy
Yeah.
and understanding for others.
It's fascinating how those early experiences seem to have shaped her entire approach to education.
I know. It's like she took those lessons from the wilderness and applied them to the classroom.
And not just any classroom, right?
Right, we're talking forest schools,
Forest schools.
where nature itself becomes the classroom.
It's not about bringing nature into the learning environment. It's about immersing yourself in nature
Yes.
and letting nature guide those discoveries.
Yes. And this is where her background in film comes in too.
Oh, yeah.
She has such a keen eye for observation
Makes sense.
and a knack for capturing the beauty and wonder of the natural world.
It's interesting to think about how that might influence her teaching methods.
Yeah. How do you think she would use film?
Well, maybe she would document the learning process or encourage students to create their own films about their experiences.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
She's always looking for these creative ways to engage learners and help them express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, she believes in fostering those living relationships with knowledge.
Right.
So filmmaking could be a powerful tool for that.
This makes me think about how Comte's approach might challenge traditional assessments.
Oh yeah, how do you measure a living relationship with knowledge? That's
Exactly.
not something that you can capture in a standardized test.
No, it's not. And it speaks to a broader conversation about the limitations of traditional assessment methods.
For sure, Comte advocates for a more holistic approach, one that takes into account a learner's individual growth, their ability to think critically, and their passion for exploration.
It sounds like she's pushing for a paradigm shift in how we think about education.
I think so.
It's not just about, accumulating facts and figures. It's about cultivating curiosity, creativity, and a lifelong love of learning.
Absolutely. And that's where her concept of Edu Voyage comes in.
Right.
Taking learners on those immersive journeys to different parts of the world, exposing them to new cultures, new perspectives, new ways of knowing.
It's like she's creating living, breathing textbooks.
I love that.
I'm curious, are these Edu Voyage trips specifically designed around certain subjects or themes, or are they more open-ended explorations?
So from what I've gathered, each trip has a specific focus,
Yeah.
whether it's history, ecology, art, even social justice.
Wow.
But within that framework, there's plenty of room for individual exploration and discovery.
So it's about striking that balance between structured learning and allowing learners to follow their own interests and passions.
Exactly, a delicate balance to achieve.
Yeah.
But Comte seems to have this knack for creating those learning environments that are both stimulating and supportive.
It all comes back to her belief that education should be a journey, not a destination.
and that each learner's journey is unique
Yes.
and should be celebrated.
Now, Comte has also embraced technology as a way to expand her reach.
She has.
You mentioned her online platform.
Edu.
Like,
yeah.
What kinds of resources does she offer there?
Oh, it's a treasure trove of educational content.
Really?
Yeah, video lessons, interactive exercises, articles.
Wow.
Even forums where learners can connect and share their ideas.
And it's not just for kids, right?
No, it's for learners of all ages.
She aims to make this approach accessible to everybody.
She does. She believes that learning is a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah.
And she wants to empower people of all ages to embrace their curiosity
That's awesome.
and continue learning.
It's a reminder that we never stop learning,
Right.
even when we're not in a formal classroom.
Even outside of those traditional settings.
And she doesn't just stop with online courses.
Nope.
She's created videos in English to share her ideas with a global audience.
She wants to reach as many people as possible.
It's clear that she's on a mission to spread her message far and wide.
She is.
This leads us to the bigger question. What impact is Comte's work having on the world of education?
That is the question, isn't it?
Is she truly a game changer, as some have called her?
It's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that Comte's approach is gaining traction.
Really?
Yeah, more and more educators are embracing these principles.
That's great.
Individualized learning, holistic development,
Those living relationships.
those living relationships with knowledge.
So she's not just inspiring individual learners, she's influencing the way we think about education on a larger scale.
Absolutely. She's challenging that status quo,
Yeah.
encouraging us to rethink what education can be. It's not just about prepping for tests
Right, or careers.
or careers. It's about empowering them to become these lifelong learners,
Yeah,
critical thinkers, engaged citizens.
and that's a legacy that extends far beyond the walls of any classroom or forest school.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does. It's amazing to consider how one person's vision can, ripple outwards and spark a whole movement.
I think you're right. I mean, there's this growing awareness that the traditional models of education, they just aren't serving all learners. People are hungry for alternatives, approaches that honor, individual differences,
Right.
nurture creativity, and foster a deeper connection with the world.
And that's where Comte's work is really valuable.
Yeah.
Right? It shines a light on what's possible.
Exactly.
She's not just talking about change, she's creating it,
She is.
building these alternative paths and inviting others to join her.
It's not an easy path, though.
What kind of challenges do you think she faces?
Well, funding's a big one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Forest schools and experiential learning programs often require more resources than traditional classrooms.
Right. And then there's the challenge of teacher training.
Yeah, not all educators are equipped to facilitate this type of learning.
It requires a different skill set. Right. You're not just delivering information, you're guiding, facilitating and creating that space for learners to explore and discover.
Exactly. It's much more collaborative.
Right.
And it requires teachers to let go of some control and trust that learning process.
And not all teachers are comfortable with it.
Right. It can be a real shift in mindset for some.
And then how do you assess this type of learning?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you measure the impact?
Right. How do you demonstrate its value?
To parents, administrators, policymakers.
We're all used to those traditional metrics.
Exactly.
That's a tough one. But I think Comte would argue that the true measure of success is,
The
spark in a child's eyes
Yeah.
when they make a discovery.
When they overcome a challenge.
Yeah, the passion they develop for exploring the world around them.
Absolutely. I think she'd also point to those long-term benefits.
Yeah.
Learners who have been nurtured in this way tend to be more resilient, more adaptable,
More creative,
more creative. They're also more likely to be lifelong learners.
which is so essential today.
Absolutely, in today's world, yeah.
So while there are definitely challenges, the potential rewards, they're huge.
They are immense. Comte's work really offers this glimpse into a future where education isn't a chore.
Right.
It's a joy,
Yeah.
where learners aren't those passive recipients of information, but they're active creators of their own knowledge.
It's a future I would love to see.
Me too, and I think the seeds of that future are already being planted.
Yeah.
More and more people are recognizing the value of this approach.
That's great.
They're starting forest schools,
Yeah.
incorporating experiential learning into their classrooms,
That's awesome.
advocating for change in their communities.
So what can our listeners do? What can they do to support this movement?
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Keep exploring her work and sharing her ideas.
Yeah.
Support organizations that are promoting these alternative education models.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of your own voice, right?
Absolutely. Advocate for change within your own local schools.
Yeah, encourage those educators to incorporate some of these elements.
Into their teaching, exactly.
Nurture that love of learning.
In yourselves,
Yeah.
in the children in your lives.
Education isn't just about acquiring knowledge, right?
No, it's about cultivating curiosity,
Yeah.
creativity, a deep connection.
With the world around us.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a great place to end. I think as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Dafnée Comte, I want to leave you with a question to ponder.
Okay, I like it.
What kind of world would we live in if everyone had the opportunity to experience this joy of learning that Comte so passionately advocates for?
That is a great question.
It is a question worth reflecting on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you found it enlightening and inspiring. And until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open to the wonder of learning.